For most people today, milk seems like one of the safest foods imaginable. It sits in refrigerated aisles, sealed in sterile containers, inspected by health authorities, and consumed by billions of people every day. Parents pour it over cereal, cafes steam it into lattes, and athletes drink it for protein and calcium. Yet for much of human history, milk carried a reputation that would shock modern consumers. It was not merely perishable, it was potentially deadly. So today we're going to find out why milk was once one of the most dangerous foods. Let's find answers to that right here on History of Food. The story begins in rapidly growing cities of the 18th and 19th centuries. As urban populations exploded during the Industrial Revolution, demand for fresh milk surged. Families living in crowded cities no longer owned cows, so they depended on commercial dairies to supply this everyday staple. Unfortunately, the systems needed to produce and transport safe milk simply did not exist. Refrigeration was rare, sanitation standards were inconsistent, and scientific understanding of disease was still in its infancy. One of the most notorious examples emerged in cities like New York during the mid-1800s. There, dairy operators discovered that keeping cows near distilleries was profitable. The animals were fed swill, the hot fermented grain mash left over from whiskey production. While cheap, this diet was terrible for the cows. Many became sick, weak, and diseased. Contemporary reports described animals with swollen joints, infected udders, and open sores. Yet these cows continued producing milk that was sold to unsuspecting consumers. The milk itself was often alarming. Because swill-fed cows produced thin, bluish milk, sellers frequently altered it before sale. Water was added to stretch supplies, while substances such as chalk, flour, plaster, starch, or even chemical additives were mixed in to improve appearance. The result was a product that looked acceptable but was often contaminated and nutritionally poor. Consumers had little way of knowing what they were actually drinking. Even worse than adulteration was the invisible threat lurking inside the milk. Before the acceptance of germ theory, people did not understand that microorganisms cause disease. Milk is an ideal environment for bacterial growth. Rich in nutrients and moisture, it allows harmful microbes to multiply rapidly, especially in warm temperatures. A bucket of milk transported through crowded city streets on a summer day could become a breeding ground for dangerous pathogens long before it reached a family's table. Diseases spread through raw milk with devastating efficiency. Tuberculosis, one of history's deadliest infectious diseases, could pass from infected cattle to humans. Typhoid fever, scarlet fever, diphtheria, and various forms of food poisoning were also linked to contaminated milk supplies. Infants and young children were especially vulnerable. In many cities during the 19th century, contaminated milk became a major contributor to childhood mortality. Doctors eventually began noticing disturbing patterns. Children from certain neighborhoods suffered unusually high death rates, while outbreaks of disease often traced back to local milk suppliers. Investigators who followed these clues uncovered shocking conditions in urban dairies. Journalists published illustrations and reports showing cows crowded into filthy stables, standing in manure, and being fed unhealthy diets. Public outrage followed. One of the key turning points came through the work of scientists studying bacteria and disease transmission. During the late 19th century, researchers such as Louis Pasteur demonstrated that microorganisms were responsible for many illnesses. This revolutionary discovery transformed medicine and food safety. Pasteur's work led to a process known as pasteurization, which involves heating liquids to a specific temperature for a controlled period of time to kill harmful microbes. At first, pasteurization faced resistance. Some producers considered it unnecessary or too expensive. Others worried it would affect flavor. There were even debates among physicians and politicians about whether milk truly required treatment. Yet evidence continued to mount. Cities that adopted pasteurization often experienced dramatic declines in milk-borne illnesses and infant deaths. Gradually, public health officials recognized that the benefits far outweighed any objections. In many places, milk traveled long distances without cooling, increasing spoilage risks. Farmers sometimes mixed fresh milk with older batches to avoid financial losses. Without standardized testing, contaminated supplies could circulate widely before anyone realized there was a problem. Public pressure led authorities to establish inspection systems, sanitation requirements, and quality standards. Dairy farms, processing facilities, and transportation networks became subject to oversight. Milk was tested for contaminants, bacterial counts, and signs of adulteration. These measures created accountability throughout the supply chain and significantly reduced health risks. Even today, debates occasionally arise over raw milk. Supporters often argue that unpasteurized milk offers superior taste or nutritional benefits. However, health agencies continue to warn that raw milk can contain harmful bacteria such as E. coli, Salmonella, Listeria, and Campylobacter. While modern farming practices have reduced many risks, the biological reality remains unchanged. Milk is an excellent medium for microbial growth if proper precautions are not taken. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this story is how completely public perception has changed. A food that once caused widespread fear, disease, and death is now associated with health, nutrition, and childhood development. So the next time you pour a glass of milk, consider the remarkable journey behind it. What appears to be a simple, everyday beverage was once among the most dangerous foods people could buy. Hidden within its history are tales of industrial greed, scientific breakthroughs, public health battles, and countless lives affected by contaminated supplies. The milk in your refrigerator is not just a product of dairy farming. It is the result of one of the most important food safety revolutions in human history. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. Thank you for watching.